Moving on this evening, this is part 2 of season 2, episode 15. The first video of the evening was on oils and different oils and what they do and how they work. And you know, they're used for protecting or putting a coating of protection on the shaft and of your pivots and lubricating those pivots. I think that kind of explains it. Anyway, this is a the clock company was called Linden, and this is a cuckoo clock manufactured. It's a PL37 centimeter, and it looks to me like it says 1269, so I'm guessing this was manufactured back in 1969. So it's a 20-year-old clock, and like any old clock, it needed a little work. So we put a bushing in here and a bushing in here, another bushing over here, and then 3 or 4 on the front side. We repaired the arbor on the mainspring here, and then let's see if we can see these. Let's see if I can bring this in for you, so you have a little idea of what's going on here. Okay. These are the ratchet gears that wind hold the mainspring as it winds up. And one of these ratchets was broke, so we cut a new one on the mill and replaced it. And I think when the teeth broke loose of this, it let the ratchet click spin, and it broke the mainspring. That's my guess. So nice little clock. It's a little why we started with this one is because it's just a simple little two gear train clock, and while there are some degrees of difficulty with it, it's kind of a nice one if you're trying to learn how to oil your own clock. You remove these from the case carefully, take the hands off, and we'll get into more of that. I think we'll go do about 2 or 3 videos on how these are oiled, and they're all basically oiled the same way, but there's a good and a bad procedure method, and we're going to do the good procedure method. I hope. Anyway, everybody has their own little tricks of the trade, and I've developed mine over 40 years, and I think I've had less problems in the field since I've managed to tweak my techniques. This is the front side. On this particular one, you can't take this gear off when you put the plates back on after you've bushed it. This has to go up underneath this bridge. So the snail is underneath, the snail and the center gear are underneath the bridge. So you have to, on this particular one, you have to oil it. If you want to hit the oil well, you have to oil it before you assemble it. So that's been pre-oiled in here, and then we pull the center gear through and set the snail and the hour drive. So that's how that's done. Here is a cam, and there's a well underneath of the cam because there's a shaft there, and that's a little trickier to oil if you put the cam on, and I put the cam on for that reason, so we can show you how tricky that is, but it can be done. And we don't want to, if you're just doing your own, maybe you have a dozen clocks. There's a lot of people who collect clocks, and you just want to oil it and be sure that you've done it right. That's what we're doing here. So we left the cam on. So, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, on this particular one here, these are sealed mainsprings barrels. So you could probably squirt a little bit of oil right in here and right in here, but it's not really going to help you. So if you're not going to take it apart and oil these properly, I wouldn't oil them. So I'd leave that mainspring alone and see how well it runs after you re-oil it. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, yeah, the long arm here, or the rack cam arm. This is your rack here, snail. This runs the count on the snail, as you see it. There are we'll lift this up a little bit. I think that's as far as it go. Okay, there's a pivot underneath this arm. Then there's this pivot here, and so there's some areas where you have to really be careful to get. And I'll show you a trick if you if you muff it, and I have. So this in between here, let's see if we can get to that. Let's see. Okay, this here is your escape wheel, and this is your verge, and these are your pellets on the verge. And I like to oil these teeth, and I don't oil all of them. I oil about every other one or every third or fourth one. Once this thing goes all the way around, it will pick up oil on all the teeth. And then I do put a little oil on the pellet fork, or the pellets of the verge. And that's done with. I have to erase that here. Anyway, this comes with the clock kit. Yeah, I tell you, Murphy's Law. Alrighty. So with that, there are. We'll do the back side first, and then we'll come back to the front and show you what we do there. So let's turn it over here and be careful, and we'll leave it laying like this. And we're going to start oiling it. And here's how the procedure is done. Now, you just get yourself into the mode. This is how you do it, and then don't sway from it. This is the way you want to learn. And then, if you want to change it after that, that's fine. But this is primarily for watchmaker beginners, watchmaker intermediates. I think the advanced clockmakers who have been out there for years, they're not going to watch this video anyway, and they don't care. They already know how they're going to do it. But for the beginners and the intermediates, and for just a customer who wants to oil his own clock, which this video is entitled for that, because I did have a person from Canada who wanted to get his wanted to know how to oil his grandfather clock. He had a Howard Miller, and he said it had a Keininger clock movement in it, and we're going to do one of those. So I'll notify him when that video comes up, and it's be up here shortly. Excuse me. All right, let's look into this. Now these are the barrels, and so you want to make sure that oil well gets oiled properly. You don't want too much oil, but you want enough. And if you get too much, like I said in the first video, it draws down through there, and that's not a good deal. So now I've taken the leader off and the suspension. You can pull the pin and take these off, even as just if you've never done it before, it's not that hard to do. These come right out of your verge here. So we'll set that aside. Alright, I always oil from the bottom side to the top. It's a reason for that. It's less confusion, and you'll know as you move up, all of your pivots got oiled. See the oil on that or not? We'll try. So we'll bring this in tight. Oops. Yep, can't get it. It goes all the way around. It will pick up oil on all the teeth, and then I do put a little oil on the pellet fork, or the pellets of the verge, and that's done with my pointer here. These come with a little clock kit. I'll have to erase that. Anyway, this comes with a clock kit. Yeah, I tell you, Murphy's Law. Alrighty. So with that, there are. We'll do the back side first, and then we'll come back to the front and show you what we do there. So let's turn it over here and be careful, and we'll leave it laying like this. And we're going to start oiling it. And for the beginners and the intermediates, and for just a customer who wants to oil his own clock, which this video is entitled for that, because I did have a person from Canada who wanted to get his wanted to know how to oil his grandfather clock. he had a Howard Miller, and he said it had a Keininger clock movement in it. And we're going to do one of those, so I'll notify him when that video comes up, and it's be up here shortly. Excuse me. All right, let's look into this. Now these are the barrels, and so you want to make sure that oil well gets oiled properly. You don't want too much oil, but you want enough. And if you get too much, like I said in the first video, it draws down through there, and that's not a good deal. So now I've taken the leader off and the suspension. You can pull the pin and take these off, even as just if you've never done it before, it's not that hard to do. These come right out of your verge here. So we'll set that aside. Alright, I always oil from the bottom side to the top. It's a reason for that. It's less confusion, and you'll know as you move up, all of your pivots got oiled. And it's crucial that all the wells on your clock, you can see the wells here, see all these wells, have to have oil in them. And then there are other areas that also have to have oil, which aren't obvious, but I'll go through that with you. So let's start with this one. So I put a couple little globs of oil right here, and let's see if we can. These shafts are quite big. See the oil in there. One dip of oil is not going to bring this in tight. Have to oil it in 3 places, each one. So you come in here with a good glob of oil, and I moved it around the oil sink, and I'll do it on the other side. Okay, and I'll oil the bottom. Okay, now we got too much oil, and that was intentional. So what we'll do, we're going to take this Q-tip, and there's nothing on it. We're just going to go right around the outside. We're not penetrating into the well. And I can see oil all the way around it, and it is exactly what we're looking for. Now I also have a little bit of alcohol, so that if I do muff it, and I have all my life, you probably didn't need to hear that. If we do muff it, then we can wipe the oil out of there, and then let the alcohol dry it out, and then start over again. It's very crucial that all these wells are oiled properly. We don't want the oil to evaporate. We don't want the oil to sink through with capillary attraction and pull it clear out of there. We want it to stay in the wells. Alright, so the same thing applies again. This is a little glob on this. And it went about halfway around. I'm going to go to the other side. And you always leave your clock a little up because you want it to draw down. Are we getting it? Yeah, we're getting it this time. Alright, look at that. And that one doesn't even need a third. So it's perfect. And now I'm going to just inspect to be sure I don't have any oil outside of the plate or the well sinks. But there is none on the outside. This one went in perfect. Okay, so you always do the 2 bottom ones first, or the 3 if you have three barrels, or 3 chain drivens if it's grandfather clock. Okay, now I'm just going to try. I don't know how well you can see. I'm going to try to do it. So I dip it in the oil, and I want to come to the top side of the pivot, because we're going to bring the oil down this way. Alright. Perfect. I'm in the oil well and I'm not on the plate. Next one. Perfect. Next one. Now, I don't know if you can see the amount of oil coming in. Muffed it. You want to be careful with these oilers too, by the way. Those tips can break off, and then you've ruined it. So then you have to get another one of these, and I haven't seen those being sold separately, but I'm sure they are. So we'll grab some oil here. Okay. We're going to go right here, and this one's oiled. Now, here's the problem. I got just a little bit too much oil in there. So I'm going to, okay, I took it right off of there. So we can move right on. Okay, perfect. This is the butterfly. Perfect. Okay, this side is done. So now we're going to pull this apart. We know we have both of these on the bottom done. So we're going to just work the same way straight up. So we come in here and we okay. Just a tab on the plate. I don't want any oil on the plates, ever. So it's nice to have a Q-tip and a little alcohol if you need it, so you can actually clean your oiler off. Okay. Okay, that one's oiled. All right, I got a little bit of a problem right here. Okay, this is a perfect example. What I'm going to do is I got the oil's not where I want it. So I'm going to dip in alcohol, and we're going to come back in here and we're going to clean that out. I think what's happened is I have just a teeny little bit of Loctite that got up on the ridge here, and that is exactly what happened. That's what prevented that oil from going in there. You just have to always look at everything. So, all right, I'm going to let that dry for just a minute. Hit this oil well, and this pivot is hidden under the long arm. So you just have to keep working it until you find it. Perfect. Okay, all of these are oiled. And I got it. Now the reason I wanted to get these hard ones out of the way, so we'll do the same thing now. Let's see if people can see it. All right, let's see if we can. 1, 2, 3. I muffed it just a little bit. Okay, that oil well's done. Now we want to just go straight up the sides. So we'll get this one first. what's really nice with this oil, it's a little darker than the premium clock oils, and you can see exactly where everything goes and what everything does. Okay, now we gotta get this one. This another pivot underneath the perfect. Man, I don't believe I got that the first time. All right. All right, let's get the other side. Okay. We're going to let this, the rack cam is right here, and we're going to come in and we're going to see where the little wedge is here is cut out. Lets us get right in there where we want to be. Alright, I got it. That one we just did here shortly. And that. Okay. All those are oiled. Alright, finally. Okay, now we want to take the grease. Too much. We're going to put just a little where this cam is. Alright. You don't want to use oil there because the oil will run off. So you put just a little touch of grease or nothing. It's that's it, up to the individual. I always try and put a little grease in the cams. Okay, we did the inside ones. Now we got to come back on the back side, and these are your ratchet gears. So when you wind the mainspring up. So what do we do there? We put a little grease on them too, and I just put it like in two places. I just a little dab. Okay. And I put a little bit on the ratchet. Same on the other side. Almost put it in the wrong spot. Alright, one. Alright, get that done. Now, we're not going to oil this because it doesn't do a 360. We're not going to oil the long arm because it's not doing a 360. And looks to me like we've got everything pretty well done. So the last thing we have to do is we get our escapement wheel oil right here. It's a little tiny bottle. And you just want a drop. That's all you need. Alright, we're ready to go. We're going to oil every other tooth, or a dozen of the teeth on the escape wheel. Now you just want to get the very point of the tooth. And this oil is very neat because it stays right where you want to put it, right where you put it. And you put it on the back side, and then you just touch the tooth. Okay, I put a little bit on the pellets. Now we're going to advance the gear. And I have just a smidge too much on the pellets. I'll just take it off of there. Alright. That is the procedure for oiling your clock. It took about 25-30 minutes, and that would be about average for a clock. On your grandfather clocks, you'll have to take the front dial off to get to the pieces, and you can use a piece of pith wood to clean out your bearing seats. You just go around them like that. You'll see some black sludge in there. Don't force it down in. Just kind of scoop a little bit of it out if you're just wanting to know how to oil your own clock. You can't get it clear out of there, and it's kind of like putting leaving the oil filter in your car and throwing some new oil in it. It's not the best thing to do, but it'll get you by. So, alright, we'll go ahead and get this video up to you next, and you'll give me some comments, I hope. It's a lot of work to do these and do them right, but if your oil's in there right, it's going to last a very long time. Maybe once every 2 or 3 years you'll need to go in and re-oil your clock, and save you a lot of money for no more than oil costs. It's a lifesaver for your clock. So hope this video helped you, and hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you guys for watching.